Hey guys, and welcome to The Therapy Couch, aka TCP, the podcast where real life meets real emotions. Join me here each week where I'll be discussing topics to help you remember who the fuck you are and how to live your best life by being authentically you. We'll dive into the realm of the human experience, exploring the things that matter most. Feelings, trauma, self-discovery, relationships, and all the other complexities that come with surviving the journey of life. I'm your host, Josie Dickerson, and I'm here to create a safe and supportive space where listeners can connect, reflect, and grow. Let's get into it. Hey you guys, welcome back to the Therapy Couch. It's Josie. We are on the second week of Awakening Authenticity. Today we're going to be talking about how your values influence your decisions. So if you joined me last week in the first episode of the series, we talked about self-awareness and your values, and I challenged you guys to take the time to write out what your values are and, for really focus on interpersonal and your personal values. And hopefully you guys did. I looked at it again, and then I was very aware of the situations that I was put into over the past week, where I was like, damn, that was such a good episode. Not to toot my own horn or hype myself up or sound cocky or anything, but even the information that I'm sharing with you guys, I use it in my day-to-day, and I'm more aware. Every time I talk about something, I try to look at okay, how did that, even me just telling you the information, how did that affect my week, or how, am I being authentic in my what my values are and all that stuff. So like I said, hopefully you guys did. You defined what your values are and how you want to show up in the world and how you want people to show up for you. But I'm gonna start off by giving you an analogy, and then using that analogy to define and how your values affect your decisions or whatever. So think of when you're getting ready to go on a road trip, right? And you need to put a destination in, you put it in your GPS, and you're you follow your GPS until you get to the destination. So I'm going to try to tie the two together. I feel like I am so confused on how to get this out, but I've had this idea in my head that's that makes so much sense. So I'm going to try to make it make sense for you guys. So when you're going on a road trip, you figure out where you're going, you get in the car, you put your destination in, and you're following your GPS. And on the way there, you're on the highway, and there's road signs that are telling you, if you go here, it'll take you here, blah, 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 whatever. So if you aren't paying attention, or something happens, you forget to get over, or you're confused or whatever, you miss your exit, and then you have to take the long way around, or you have to go 10 miles up the road and then turn around and get back, and then try to go back the way that your GPS is telling you to go. And that's exactly how life is, right? So I asked you guys to define your values, because it's that's the type of person that you want to be, right? You have this person that you want to become, so that's your destination. And then by programming in, your values are your GPS system. Your values are going to tell you how to get to where you're going, if you actually follow them. So, and if you don't, it's you still get to where you're going, but it takes a lot longer. And I know, I'm pretty sure the majority of people are this way, but instant gratification, we all love that, right? That's why we're obsessed with Amazon and fucking dating apps and TikToks. It's instant, that instant gratification, oh my God, I can have this right now. And we all love that, right? But it's that's not necessarily how life really works. Like anytime that you want something, you have to like put in the work for it. So it's like once you define what your values are, then you get to become that person. Like you get to go to the destination like in the fastest way possible. So then and this is how it like ties into your decision making. Like you're like, okay, this is the type of person that I want to be. Like this is the girl, like I'm that girl, or I'm that guy, and like I'm the good friend that always shows up. And I'm respectful and like, you know, just like an all around good person. I think we all really want to be good people, and sometimes like, you know, you're put in situations where it's like maybe you don't make the best decision, or like you're not in the best spot. So then I've said it in like previous episodes, like hurt people. And so it's like if you're not aware of like the fact that you're doing that, or that you're unaware of the fact that like your morals, like what you're made of, like who you are, like needs some adjustment, you're just going to keep like essentially driving around in circles and like doing the same thing over and over again and like expecting to go someplace else, but like you're never going to get there because you don't have the right like you're not on the right track. And so like once you figure out like that type of person, and then you start like navigating your life being like, no, like this is the person that I want to be. And I want to preface like this whole conversation with becoming somebody different is not easy. Like, not that it's impossible, but it's not an easy journey. Like you don't just like flip, like how many of you have like started a diet, or like started going to the gym, and like you're like really, really good at it, or like, you know, you're like super motivated the first week, and then like life happens, right? Like, oh, I don't have time, or you start making I don't want to say it like excuses, like, but that's what it is. Like, let's not sugarcoat this shit, right? You start making the excuses of like why you can't do the thing that you're trying to do. And then you backslide and you go back to the version that you were before. So I'm not saying that like becoming the best version of yourself is like a direct A to B, like, oh, I'm just going to jump right over here and now I'm like exactly who I want to be. It's not easy, but it's like, that's why I wanted to take, you know, these next few weeks and really like lay out a map for you so you can be like, these are the steps. And then I also want to say that's like, if you backslide, or if it's like, you know, it's not about, I actually have a ring that says this, but it's like, it's progress over perfection. Like life does happen, you know what I mean? But it's like when you start letting little things and like piling up those excuses, that's when it's like, it really is excuses. But if you know that it's something that you want and you put in the work, and then, you know, you have like one bad day, and like, I know we're talking about like values and stuff like that. So it's like, not quite the same, but you know, if you take compassion, for example, right? Like, that was one of my values in the last episode. And if you didn't listen to the first episode, go listen to the first episode, please and thanks. But like compassion, like it's so easy for us. Like we are all wrapped up in our own shit, right? Like we all have our own lives going on. We all have trials and tribulations that we deal with on a day-to-day, or like, you know, just like the state of what our life is. And so when you say like, you know, you write out your values, and say compassion is one of those, when you write it down and you're like, okay, I want to be more compassionate, that's not just like a flip of a switch and you're like, oh yeah, and you're just going to be perfect at it to begin with, right? Like it takes repetition. And so how do I do this every time? I literally get an idea in my head, and then I like start talking about it and my mind completely goes blank. I have my own stuff going on, like, but I know that this is important to me. Like getting this information out to you guys is important to me. So it's like that follow through thing, right? Actually, this is the perfect analogy. Thank you, universe. Thank you, God. So I was out of town this weekend. I took my dog. I'm going to give you a quick little backstory. It ties into everything, I promise. So I was out of town this past weekend. I took my dog to stay with this dog sitter, that I found on Rover. And no shade to Rover, but I'm never using them again. So I took my dog to this lady's house. It seemed really cool. Was like, seemed like a responsible adult, and was like sending me updates. Everything was going great. Well, then she texts me and she's like, hey, I need you to call me ASAP. And I was like, all right. So I call her and she was like, hey, like, Pepper got out of the back gate and she's lost. Like, my husband's out looking for her. Like, I needed to call and let you know. And I was just like, okay. And I like didn't know what to say. Like, I wanted to be like, any of you that have pets, like, they're your babies, they're your family. Like, and I could have just like lost my shit on this lady and just went off on her, right? Like, I was like telling my friends, like, yo, like, my dog is lost. Like, this girl was watching her and my dog is lost. And they were like so much more reactive than I was. But I was like, okay, like, I was just calm about the situation. I was like, you know what? Like, we'll figure it out. She's going to come back. Like, just not to be like positive vibes, but like, I was just like, okay, everything's going to be okay. Like, there's literally nothing that I can do right now to help look for her or like figure something out. Like, there's nothing that I can do in this moment. So for me to have like such a heightened reaction, like, is unnecessary. Like, obviously I'm upset and whatnot, right? But I didn't need to go off on the lady. And so I'm saying, I'm giving the backstory to say, like, I could have used that. So then I like get home. My dog is still lost, by the way. I get back home and like that's been on my mind, and like I've been working with like the agent from Rover to like, put flyers out and do all this stuff to find my dog. And I could have very easily been like, damn. And honestly, if I'm being completely transparent with you, old Josie would have been like, oh man, like, I have so much shit going on. Like, I have to deal with this. And like, my mind is elsewhere and I can't focus on like recording the podcast. So maybe I just won't put out an episode this week. And I could have made like a laundry list of excuses as to why I was not going to record this episode. I will say that if I seem distracted or like if I, am not as like insightful, I already in my mind, in my mind, I'm already like, I don't think that this is going to be the best episode, but it still will provide value. So like I could have old Josie for sure would have been like, oh yeah, like I'm just going to use this laundry list of excuses that I have. Like I have a perfect reason that like I don't feel motivated in the moment to record this and get this out to these people when I said like there will be a new episode every Thursday. And so I say all that to say like that takes work, you know what I mean? And I thought about it today too. I was like, oh, well, like I don't really, like I'm sad. I like, how can I get on here and like record this and like be all like happy and peppy and like so positive towards people like when I have shit going on. Like, but at the same time, what do I value? I value accountability and follow through and determination. And I told myself like, this is a priority for me. Like, if you think I'm just out here recording like for the hell of it, like I'm not. Like I really do feel like I'm impacting somebody. Maybe it's not you, but like I am. It's for somebody. And so like that, knowing that in my heart of hearts, and like because I have laid out my values and I know the kind of person that I want to be, and like I know where I'm going, I have my destination in my GPS, I'm gonna show up. Like I'm gonna show up for myself because one, I told myself I was gonna be here. I'm going to show up for you because I told you that I would post it. Like I told everybody like, oh, new episodes every Thursday, like check in, you know what I mean? Like go listen. So it's like, because I have that foundation and because I have been actively like, and intentionally trying to live up to those values that I have set for myself, I move in a different way. Like I said, old Josie asked me last year, like, I swear, last year I would have been like, you know what, fuck it. Like, I could have just, like, been down on myself and been like, oh, well, like, I have a reason not to. And, like, if I miss a week, then, like, It won't be that big of a deal. Like, I'll just pick up next week. But then you know what would have happened? Like, if I wouldn't have recorded a year ago, if I had not been working on my values and like the type of person that I want to be and like how I want to show up for myself, like a year ago, I would have been like, oh, I'm not going to record this week. I'll just pick up next week. And then guess what? Next week would roll around and I'd be like, oh, well, I already missed a week. Like, it'll be okay. Like, I'll just figure it out. Like, maybe I won't post on Thursday. Maybe I'll just post on Friday. And then guess what? Friday rolls around and I still haven't posted. And then it's like a snowball effect. Like, the more you like let yourself down or like let yourself get away with the excuses, the more you're going to show up that way. And it's like, as much as like I would, that's like the easier option. And that's why I'm saying like changing and like being the best version of yourself and like creating this person that you want to be, where you're like, damn, like I feel really good about the person that I am. Like, it's not an easy road, because I have another analogy for you guys. If y'all, I'm going to give you all the analogies and all the like the corny, like cheesy bullshit that like you hear. And I mean, we've heard it all our lives, but I'm going to give you this analogy. So there's this, I wish I could remember who it came from, but there's this analogy of, the rabbit fur, right? So it's like you have people that are deep inside of the rabbit fur, right? Like they're all comfy and they're warm and they're toasty and they're like all cuddled up with their other little family members down there in the fur, right? And then you have like the outer edge of the fur. So like the outside, like the part that you would like pet or whatever, right? Then you have those people that are like holding on to the edge of the rabbit fur as it's like hauling ass through an open field, and they're like, fuck yeah, rock on, like let's go, bro, like let's get out of our comfort zone, let's see the world. So like those people inside of the rabbit fur that are all nice and comfy and cozy in their comfort zone, there's like this whole external space that they don't realize is there because they're comfortable and they're like, oh no, I'm good, like I'm gonna just stay in my comfort zone. And like deciding to be a better version of yourself, whatever that is. And like maybe you're like, oh, I really like myself in this area, but I really need to improve in this other area. Like that's totally fine. Like it's not to say that like you as a whole needs a whole readjustment, right? That's not, but it's like I find that like there will be certain areas at different times in my life where I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm kind of lacking in this area, and I would like to get back to a place where like I feel like comfortable, like again, there we go with that comfort zone, right? Like where I feel comfortable and I'm like, okay, like I'm happy with how this is right now until it's time to change it again. But it's like getting out of that comfort zone and getting out of that, again, victim mindset, and getting out of like waiting for motivation, or like, because motivation's never gonna help you follow through. Like I could be motivated to like go do the dishes right now, and 5 minutes later I'll be like, damn, like if I don't get up and go do it while I'm motivated, then I'm gonna be like, I don't really want to do it, and I'm not gonna do it, right? But if I'm like, no, I know that I need to wash the dishes because like I like for my home to be clean, I like for my space to be clean, I love when my kitchen's clean, like I love walking in my kitchen and like shit is just sparkling and there's no dishes in the sink and there's like everything's where it's supposed to be, right? So like if I just use motivation as like a tool to get something done, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to fucking do it. But if I know, it's like building up those daily habits. And again, like it takes work, it takes time, figuring out your values and like, you know, what's important and like showing up like that. It takes time. And if you backslide, it's not the end all be all. Like you just pick yourself up and you try again. I tell my kid that all the time because, you know, she's 4, and I don't know if you guys have kids or if you've ever seen a kid, like kids always want to win, right? Or like they always just like want to, and I think it's everybody, but like kids especially, like they're like, oh, like I wanted to be the best at something, or like if it doesn't go right, or if I've tried something like 10 times and it doesn't work, I get frustrated and I break down. Like that happens with my kid all the time. Like, she's in gymnastics, and so she is like trying to learn how to do a cartwheel, right? So the first couple of times she does it, and she's like, then I can see her getting frustrated because it's not right. And I tell her all the time, and it's not just gymnastics, but like anything that she tries and she's not great at first, I'm like, baby, it's okay if you're not great at it. Like, you just have to keep trying until you get it right. And that's like with anything, like anything in life. Sometimes you're not naturally great at something straight out the gate. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like you have to have the mindset to know, like, okay, even though I'm not great at it right now, I have the potential to be great at this. And like, I'm going to keep trying until you are great at something, So, excuse me. So like finding your values and like learning how to make decisions based on like the values that you set for yourself, and learning to navigate life in a new way, in a different way. It's not easy. It's gonna be uncomfortable because we are creatures of habit. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, once you start doing something, that's just how it is. Like, I remember also like after my divorce, like, I was cooking and cleaning, and like the house was always spotless, and like doing laundry and doing all these things. I swear there was a solid 6 months where I like let dishes pile up, and even now, like, you hear me, and I've been divorced for 3 years, like, now I'm like, I still have that mindset of like, damn, bro, I do not want to do the dishes, because I was stuck in that pattern for so long that it became a habit of like, oh, I'm not gonna wash the dishes right after dinner because I don't want to, like, I'm fucking tired. I'm so tired of doing this stuff. And so like, you're starting something new and creating a new habit is not necessarily an easy thing, but I think the key to loving life, making a change, being happy, like, it's all about micro moments, or like little tiny, we always say like, oh, it's always about the little things, but it really is. But in like, when you start focusing on those like micro moments where you're like, damn, like, I've done this for 3 days, or like, I came into this situation 3 different times and I handled it perfectly, or exactly how I wanted to handle it every single time. I said it before too, like, people say that I'm a lot, and like, I am a very passionate person. So like, if something upsets me, I am very outwardly expressive, and I've been working on, I don't know why I feel like this is something that I need to work on, but I just feel like it's something that I need to work on. But I've been trying to be less reactive outwardly, so that way I have time to like process inwardly. And I like, when I made that choice, that's the funny thing about the universe too, is like, or like the world that we live in, is like, when you ask for something, like, if you're a religious person like listening to this and you're like believe, like, I don't know, like Christian or whatever, or whatever, if you're like, God, give me patience, or like, God, patience is is one that I always hear people say, like, God, give me patience. Well, guess what? You don't just become patient all of a sudden. God's not just going to be like, okay, here you go, here's some patience. If it was that easy, like, what's the point of even being here, right? How would you learn anything? And God won't give you the patience, but he'll give you the situation to strengthen your ability to be patient with people. Like, I remember when my daughter was little, like, I used to say that all the time, like, God, give me patience. Like, let me just be patient. Like, I was very much in a go, go, go mindset, and like, she would want to put on her shoes by herself and it would take her 20 minutes. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, and then I like seriously did need to work on like being patient. And it was so much more beneficial to let her be independent than it was for me to constantly do everything, because she still needs me, right? But she is a very independent child, and it's very easy to tell her to say, like, oh, hey, Noli, I need you to take your plate to the kitchen. Hey, Noli, I need you to go in and, like, pick out your outfit for today. And it's a lot easier. Then I'm also less stressed because she's not reliant on me to constantly do every single thing for her. And that can apply to anything. Like, I've definitely had relationships where it's like, hey, I need you to do this. And then, like, you wait for the person to do it. And then, like, they never do it. And then you end up doing it yourself and you're, like, frustrated and pissed off. Like, definitely been in that situation. But I say that, like, you know, if you say, like, oh, I want to be more compassionate, guess what? The universe, God, whatever, your reality is going to give you those opportunities to be more compassionate. I want to follow through on the shit that I say that I'm going to do for myself. Well, guess what? Once you set that goal, you're going to be tested over and over and over again. I say it all the time. Like, it's like going to the gym, you know what I mean? Or, like, learning a new language, or, like, learning any new skill. Like, it takes repetition, and it takes, like, making the mistakes. Like, everyone's so afraid of, like, making the mistakes, or, like, doing the wrong thing, or, you know, being put in a situation where you couldn't show up the way that you wanted to show up. And, like, then you're like, fuck it. Like, you just give up. Well, if you're going to just give up, then you're going to do that every single time. So it's like, okay, well, you know, I backslid a little bit, but, like, I can pick right up and we can try again. And I think there's, like, a Doc McStuffins song that says that. Again, with the kid thing. Anyways, so once you know, like, how you want to show up, what your values are, and who you want to be, and you start, like, navigating the world in the way that you want to be, like, you're not going to be perfect every time, and shit, even if you have them down pat, like, and you've been doing it for a while, and you've been showing up, like, you're not going to be perfect every time, but that's not a reason to, like, stop trying. So I completely lost my train of thought. Yep, I completely lost my train of thought. Hold on. So this week, we're just going to make this a super short episode. I think I've, like, made my point with my 10,000 analogies and basically saying the same thing over and over again. It's like, really, when I don't want you to get discouraged, and I don't want you to just give up because it's hard, because I know you've heard it 1,000 times too. It's like, you know, choose your hard. It's hard to go to the gym, right? It's also hard to be overweight with health issues and have to deal with that constantly. So I just say, like, choose your hard. This week, I don't really have a challenge this week, so sorry about that. But just, like, reflect on your values again, and notice, like, the decisions that you make for yourself throughout the week, and, like, really take note of, like, oh, did I act according to my values? Like, am I living authentically, like, in the most authentic way that I can, based on, like, how I want to show up in the world, and, you know, who I want to be, and, like, where I'm trying to go and where I'm trying to take my life. That's, like, really my only challenge for you guys for this week, is to take note of that. And if you find yourself, and not even just this week, but, like, it's something to, like, carry throughout life, you know, but if you notice that, like, you're not really acting according to the values that, you know, you've written down, and, like, you've decided that you're going to be this new, better person, right? So if you're not really acting accordingly, like, make adjustments. And it's like, you don't beat yourself. It's not to like beat yourself up or like shame yourself or be like, oh God, like I'm never going to be able to do this. It's definitely not that, but it's like when you become, again, more self-aware and you can see where, like, truly see the situations where you're lacking or like where you need to improve, it will help you find like a better path to take. So yeah, let me know how that goes, and be intentional with your values this week. That's my challenge for you. Be intentional with your values. Again, I'm sorry if this one wasn't the best. I still think I got my point across. I am a little distracted, but like I said, I said that I was going to follow through and show up for you guys and show up for myself and, stay true to my commitments. So if you guys have any feedback or like want to talk about anything or want me to talk about anything specifically, DM me, send me an email, whatever it is. Just let me know. I'd love to get your guys' feedback. I want to thank everybody for listening. I'm currently not promoting this podcast anywhere, and so many of you have been listening and providing like feedback, and I just love that and I appreciate it so much. So yeah, that's all I have for you this week. Go be intentional with your values and live your best life. Okay, love you, bye.